You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank.
WellPoint. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point.
Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. For auto, home, business, and life, trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. GoPuff, a grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code Lowell20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21, plus free delivery. Download the GoPuff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsongas Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspiratesfootball.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to you. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And we thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this Inside Lowell podcast possible. We thank all of our sponsors for making these podcasts possible, and all of Inside Lowell possible as well. And I also would like to thank my special guest who's joining us here in the WellPoint Studios this morning. We're recording it on Monday, April 15th, Patriots Day, and we're joined by Lowell City Councilor, former Lowell Mayor, and current Registry of Deeds candidate, Sokhary Chau. Good morning. How are you, Councilor?
Good morning, Teddy, and thank you for having me on to introduce myself. And to some folks, I'm reintroducing myself as the candidate for the Registry of Deeds. Before I do so, I want to wish everyone out there who's celebrating the Southeast Asian New Year, Happy New Year. It's the Year of the Dragon. It's one of the most auspicious animal in the zodiac timeline. And also, Happy Patriots Day. And again, thank you, Teddy, for having me on to be on the show.
Lots of reasons to celebrate. I hope you feel that way when we're done chatting.
Absolutely. It's always a great opportunity to speak to the public, let everyone know how to be informed about what it is we elected officials do.
Well, that's one of the questions I have is about this office that you're running for, what it does. But before that, people in Lowell know you at this point, right? You've served, this is now your third term as city councilor. You served as a mayor and you were all over the place. But this is a big registry district, right? 9 other cities and towns, if I have that right?
That's correct, nine other towns.
So for the folks who might be hearing from you, seeing you for the first time, tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you came to run for this office.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Sokhary Chau. I'm a candidate for the Register of Deeds in Middlesex, Northern. I am living the democratic life, living the American life, and the American dream. And the reason I want to run is to protect the American dream of home ownership. A lot of people might not know my history. A lot of people in Lowell do, but outside the district, they may not. I came from a country that was war-torn, that was overtaken by the communists in 1975. My father was a farmer. Late in life, he became a captain in the army who battled and fought the Khmer Rouge, many battles. Finally, when Cambodia fell to the communists, he was one of the first to be executed, leaving my mom with 7 children to raise and to keep alive during the killing fields. I came to Lowell, I came to the United States in 1981, actually, and we were sponsored by the Catholic Church and we came to Lowell later on 1985. And my life really began in Lowell with education in the Lowell public school system. I later won an award, a scholarship to attend Phillips Academy and then Macalester College. Growing up in the 1980s and 1990s, Teddy, the ideals of the American dream was very alive and instilled with a lot of people. And that's what I had. I was just to pursue the American dream of just being successful, owning your own home. We just didn't have a pathway to do it. But fortunately, my wife and I, after college, after many jobs in between, we opened a financial company called ABC Financial Network for a couple of years, and later joined Merrimack Mortgage Company. That was a net branch concept. Just going backward, I also worked for law offices, both in downtown Lowell and in downtown Boston. In 2017, I decided to give back to the community, give back to the public by running for city council. With my private sector experience and public sector experience, I am uniquely qualified to run, manage, and operate the registry of deeds.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned the American dream, and for people it's various different things, but home ownership really is kind of the first most important step towards realizing that dream. I remember the day when my parents bought their first house. I was old enough to remember it, and it's kind of the first sign that you've arrived, no matter where you came from. And it's something that I kind of take for granted, though, because I'm a spoiled kid born in America. I never had to worry about things like, somebody coming and taking your property away from you. But that's something that happens commonly in many countries with, lawless societies, et cetera. So I imagine, it was a big moment for you, and it's a big moment in the Southeast Asian community as well, right?
Absolutely. In America, we, lack of a better way to say, we take a lot of things for granted, and especially with the Register of Deeds. It is so complex in a good way. It's very well designed, very well thought of. It goes back as far as the 1600s. Very, very well designed. Like I said, very well protected, very well thought out. The country, Cambodia, when the country fell to the communists, Cambodia is an agrarian society, so many are farmers. Only one major city in the entire country, Phnom Penh. I came from the countryside, the province called Battambang. And I'm not being biased, Teddy, but just like Kalamata had the #1 olive in the world, so Battambang grew harvest the best rice in the world. So my family were rice farmers and orange orchard farmers. But most people own their own land, they work on a farm and so forth, like the old America in the 1700s, 1800s, basically. So that's what the communists did. They came in, they took away land, to take away your lifestyle, to take away lives. Coming to America, like in the 1980s and 1990s, the American economy was robust, was very vital. Everywhere you see, the business was growing and so forth. And like I said, the American dream was really to be successful. And when I walk around, I grew up in an acre. When I walk around, first of all, we grew up in a very small apartment, 2-bedroom, 8 of us, but actually there were 10 to 11 people. Immigrant living in a small, tight home, you always find 2 or 3 extra relatives, and sharing the space to help with the cost of the rent. So when we walk around to other neighborhoods, we saw single-home families and things like that. I thought they were wealthy because I didn't understand the concept of buying your own homes, things like that, because in our country, you were just born into a home. You live on a farm, and many middle-class American families, their children born into a home. So the idea of home ownership for people who already own home, it wasn't different. But for kids and families that arrive here, just didn't know how to own a home, we didn't think about the pathway to it. So when we ran the mortgage companies, both mortgage companies, when we closed on our homes, the couple across from us, they end up crying. They didn't think that they could own a home like you mentioned. Really, when you think about it, when, I don't know how to say this in a better way, when you just want to run a small business, you want to be successful for yourself. But when you start helping other families, other couples owning a home, which is a piece of the American dream, they are very, very grateful. And as you mentioned, you don't have to go to college to own a home. You don't have to work in an office. You don't have to be like a Wall Street brokers. You just have to work hard. And that's what happened. Many of the families who bought homes, they were first-time home buyers. Both husband and wife would work 2.5 jobs. The wife would work 1 job. The husband would work 2 jobs. They could save enough money to put it on a down payment. And then, over the years, they able to finally own an American dream, a piece of the American dream. So we saw that, and it's like, we're helping some people achieving a dream that otherwise they would not realize. And going back to, I know you would ask, how is that connected to what I'm doing now? And that's what I understand how important it is to own a home. I understand how important it is to have that American dream. And once you own a home, the Register of Deeds, that's what we do. We protect home ownership. We protect the deeds. Make sure that your home, once you own it, it doesn't taken away by frauds, by scams. It's very, very important. And for most people, home ownership, their home is the biggest asset that they have. Nobody would ever able to save $400,000, $500,000 in asset. But once you buy a home, monthly mortgage payment over the years, if you're lucky enough to pay it off, that becomes your asset. That becomes your family's wealth. And you can build generational wealth after that for yourself, for your kids, for your grandkids. So it really is a beautiful dream.
So what did you know about the office of the Registry of Deeds? What did you know about the job before you got into this race and decided to run for it? But very few people, in my experience, actually know. I really, to this day, I'm not really sure. I've talked to a couple of your opponents, and they've kind of told me, but still, it's like you think about it, and you're like, the job itself. We all know here in this area, Dick Howe Jr. has held it for 30 years. By the time his turn's done, and he's not running anymore, and he's an attorney. So the assumption was, well, you have to be an attorney to be the Register of Deeds or have some experience in real estate. But that's not necessarily the case, right?
That's true. There are 21 Register of Deeds across the Commonwealth. And I did look at many of the profiles. Half of them are attorneys. Some of them are not. So just going back to the first part of your question, I have used the Register of Deeds for a very long time, especially through the mortgage businesses. And I had a couple years stint also be in a real estate agent business as well. So we talk about Mr. Howe. Mr. Howe really transformed and modernized the registry lot. I used the registry starting 1998, 1999, I believe, when we did the ABC Financial Network. And when we close on a home, so 2 things that are very important to the real estate professional, both the agent, the buy agent, the seller agent, the closing attorneys, and even the buyer and the seller themselves. The most difficult task is to get them to the closing table, right? Because that's part of business. And once you get everybody to the closing table, the second part is to record the mortgages, the deeds, or the document, municipal lien certificate, and so forth. Only after you record it, that's when everybody gets paid and you transfer the keys and so forth. So back in the late 1990s and early 2000, after the closing, the attorneys would have to go to the registry, wait in line, and to record it. Now it's done online. About 85% of the documents, real estate document recording now, are done online by Simplifile. So just what does the registry really do? They record land records, right? Real estate transaction. And the mission is really to safeguard those documents securely, safely. Like I mentioned, I also work in 2 law offices, one in Lowell and one in Boston. So I understand how important it is to have properly and accurately, legally have those documents in place before you record them. And the third aspect of running the registry is to make sure that these documents are accessible to provide customer service. And that's what the Registry of Deeds does. But the register does more than that, because we are lucky. Like I said before, the registry is really well operated across the country. But we're also very, very lucky to have a person like Mr. Howe, who's been on a job for 30 years, and he put together a great team. The clerks, they know what they are doing. They understand the process. They've been trained over the years, and they're very dedicated, they're very committed. The register of the deed need to have visions, need to have leadership, especially with the concept of customer service. With my private sector experience and the public and the leadership, being the mayor, being the city council, understand budgeting, working collaboratively with local leaders, with state leaders and federal leaders. We need to be able to do more than just being like a 9-to-5 at the desk looking at documents. The clerks, they can't do that. Like I said, they're very well trained, very, very knowledgeable, and I'm lucky if I'm lucky enough to win the election, first of all. And secondly, I would be very lucky to join that team. Actually, it's a very well maintained, well organized team. They know what they're doing. It would allow me to do more of the bigger things, maybe secure more funding, to expand and on technology. Everybody talks about it. Mr. Howe, he modernized the registry more so than any other registry in the United States. But technology is ever changing. You could add, the concept of AI. I could talk on more about technology because when Mr. Howe started, it was dial-up modem, if you remember, in the 1990s. And I was lucky enough to work over many summers, save some money to buy a Apple Macintosh. And you would get like a dial-up modem. It would take 30 minutes to get connection. And then you had the Y2K when we thought about the war was going to end. And now technology, really, you have to talk about AI, how that can improve customer service, how it could help enhance the work experience and the customer service experience as well. And the other things that we have to be mindful of, we talk about how great the clerks are in office, but there's only about 10 to 12 people working in the registry. Ever since I've been working in the professional career, both in the private sector, from working for myself to working for other organizations, I always had people to manage. And small number of people, I think the largest number of employees I've had was with Merrimack Mortgage when I managed 15 loan officers. But I find the lesser the number of employees and organization, it's actually harder to have a positive work environment. If you have like 100 or 500 employees, it's much easier because there's due process. Everybody kind of anonymous. They don't know each other. But when you have a small organization, everybody work very, very close together. I think when you have less people and you have a lot of tasks to do, you would have the staff to take over multiple functions. Just like when I ran a mortgage company, I worked for a small law office in Boston. You're both the janitor and the CEO many times. So, I think we have to be mindful, how do we make the workplace much more productive, much more positive as well. Anything from like vacation times, because we have 10 people working, right? If 2 or 3 people call out sick, vacation, like a floating holidays like today, who's going to be able to work, who's not going to be able to work. I faced all these issues when I was running small organizations. And I can imagine when a registry as important as the Middlesex Northern Registry, when you deal with 10 communities, dealing with literally tens of thousands of documents to be recorded each year, how complex it is. Many things we can do as a register of deeds. Again, as complex it is, we cannot cover it in one interview. I have a lot of good ideas, anything from financial literacy. We talked earlier about, for young people, in high school or college age individuals, they might always want to own a home, but the housing price now, when I start the mortgage company, the average cost of the house was about $100,000 to $150,000. Now the average single home family in Lowell is about $460,000, right? So financial literacy is so much more important. We can go to different schools, different organizations throughout the municipality, educate the young adults how to budget, how to be responsible financially, so they themselves they could be the first one in the family to buy a home, or if their family own homes already, they need to figure a way how they could start their own family and own their own home and start building wealth on their own as well. Many things can do that the Register of Deeds, like I said, you need to have vision, you need leadership, management skill. And when we talk about management, it's not necessarily about managing staff, right? Managing relationships with municipal leaders, with stakeholders, with partnerships. So I apologize. I don't want to keep on going forever like this. This is you.
Well, you helped me out here. You answered part of my question, which was what is your vision for the office? We're chatting with Lowell City Councilor Sokhary Chau. He's joining us here in the Wellpoint Studios to talk about his candidacy for Register of Deeds. You mentioned how Dick Howe is widely credited for modernizing that office, and most people will tell you he has done a spectacular job. I honestly can't find anyone who's told me they think he's done a lousy job or even a mediocre job. Everyone has high praise for him. That said, every new leader has a vision for the office, and you started to kind of lay it out a little bit. Is there anything that you can see in their operations that needs to be improved from a customer service perspective or an accessibility? Or what would be like the first kind of thing you'd look at if you're lucky enough to be elected and you get in there in day one? What would you kind of target as your first initiative?
Absolutely. I have thought about that a lot. As you know, the first minority mayor in the city of Lowell, the first Cambodian American mayor in the country. When I ran for mayor, I just thought I would be just so proud to be the mayor of the city. But with being the first minority, the first Cambodian American mayor in the country, there's a lot of expectations. And what does it mean? You have to think higher than yourself. You have to think about the organization. You have to think about the city. And now with 10 towns, 10 municipalities involved, you have to think about the bigger picture. And one thing I did as a mayor, I really opened up government, make City Hall very, very friendly. And that's what I intend to do with the Registry of Deeds as well. Make it more welcoming. I think myself being diverse by nature, how people come to the registry more. Government should be very helpful to the people. They should not set up roadblocks to be able to access customer service, to document. It's kind of intimidating right now. If you go to the registry, it's located at 370 Jackson Street. It's in a beautiful new court building. But to go to the office, you have to go through security checkpoint. It's not only a hassle or inconvenient for some people, it could be very intimidating. So while some people might not feel comfortable going through all the steps to go visit the registry, we can take the registry on the road. We can go to different community centers. We can go to public libraries. We can go to senior center. And like I said, we could work with town halls, and even the city of Lowell be a city hall, set up office hours, operations, so people feel comfortable, come to visit, whether they have questions about homestead or whether they have questions about signing up for consumer notification services. They want to record simple documents, mortgage discharge and things like that. We can bring the registry into the towns, into the community. So those are things that we can connect the registry to the people. As you know, the past couple of years as mayor, I'm not really so good with technology in the sense of social media, website, things like that. But I'm old-fashioned. I start the small business where face-to-face is very, very important. I answer all my phone calls. So the 10 communities, the 9 other towns can expect to see me face-to-face more often. So that's what it takes. You got to run the registry like it's a small business. It's a huge organization. It's very, very complex, like I mentioned. But you have to run it like a small business. Customer service is front and center. You got to enhance customer service for both the public, and it's not just the professionals are using it, not just the real estate agents, the brokers, the attorneys, the bankers, the engineers, but also the public. And you got elderlies, right? So not everybody can access physically by going to the registry's office. We have to bring it to them, bring it to the people.
All right. The campaign, you've run multiple campaigns now, I think 4 in total for Lowell City Council. there's a lot of door knocking, right? Going to community events and whatnot. But when you have such a wide district as this North Middlesex district, what's your strategy and for how you're going to get out there and meet the people and engage them and kind of talk about the things you've been talking about here? Not everyone will see this podcast. And, you know, it's hard to believe, but, you know, there's a whole bunch of people out there who won't. So what's your plan for getting out there and reaching them? But besides this amazing like food tour that you've been doing, hitting all the breakfast places and cafes, it's a miracle you don't weigh 250 pounds.
Thank you, Teddy. And I really enjoy visiting the different towns, the different coffee shop, and each town is unique. The leadership in each town all have different personalities, obviously different interests and so forth. So I do enjoy being out there. I don't think I'm going to do that. You know, it's a much bigger district than the city of Lowell, of course. But I don't think I will do much difference in terms of strategy-wise, in terms of how to campaign. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to go to different events. I'm going to try to meet individuals through phone calls, setting up coffee meetings. And I'm going to, you know, I'm advised against it, Teddy, not to knock on doors because really there's tens of thousands of voters. But I'm going to try to knock on doors as much as I can in each town because I know that even just campaigning within the city of Lowell, I grew up in Lowell, and you think you know Lowell, but it's a lot different when you walk the street, you hit the pavement, you knock on doors, you see the voters face to face. You know, you get a different experience and you learn more. I always look forward to learning more from the public, from the people, from the voters, than what I have to offer. I take the concept and the definition of public servant very seriously, almost very literally. I'm a servant. I'm a servant to the public. So it's very, very good to hear what the issues are, what their concerns are. And you can't do that unless you talk to them face to face. And it's nice to talk with all the leadership, with all the elected officials, with all the stakeholders. But these individuals, they know what's going on with different people, and they have a different way of thinking, a different way of doing things. But the individual voters who are not in public, they're working all the time, they're taking their families, they might not be able to have a chance to talk to the elected officials unless I knock on doors, unless I go to the events where they might be going, one-on-one conversations. That's really what I will continue to do. I know that it might be slower, might be a difficult task, I might not reach everybody, but I think in terms of quality interactions and connection, rather than quantity, rather than just like a hi, how are you type of deal, conversation I can learn from them and what we can do for the registry together, what's important to them. I
was just going to ask, what have you learned from visiting these communities? Because I'm following you on social media. I see that you've been out to a bunch of them. Do they have the same view of that office as we do here in Lowell? As much as I said, people generally have no really idea what that office does until you need to use them. We're somewhat more familiar here in Lowell because the guy who's held that seat is from Lowell for 30 years, and it's in our courthouses, has been that entire time, and it was a big deal when it moved into the new courthouse. But what are you hearing from the folks who aren't necessarily from Lowell, and what's kind of, is their impression similar to the folks you've talked about in the Mill City about that office?
You're right. We're very lucky to have the registry literally down the street from us. So we feel that the registry is a Lowell registry, but the registry belongs to all 10 communities. And believe it or not, whether I talk to somebody who's politically acumen, they are involved in the communities with different municipality a lot, to the individuals who, you know, don't not even travel to Lowell, or they're not politically active. They have a lot of them have the two same questions, you know. What is the registry of deeds, you know? And they would joke about, it could be like a register of motor vehicle. That's the first one. The second question, so they did not know it's an elected position. They thought it was appointed by some other means. And the third thing is like, oh, well, you know, like I have my attorneys do this, my attorneys do that for me with the legal documents, which they should continue to do. The hard part is really try to get the individuals to be excited. Some of the things that they can do on their own, like cost-saving measures, to protect their asset. It's one of the biggest assets that they own in their lifetime. just to protect themselves from fraud and from scams, signing up for the CNS, the Consumer Notification Services, or filing a homestead, or just being aware that if you have any issues at all about your deeds, you can call the register. And I think with me being involved in the community so much, I want them to feel very comfortable calling me, accessing the register. Whereas if otherwise, if I'm not in the community, they might think it's this big elected official, because the registry is an arm of the government, and people think it's part of the government. They don't feel like it's friendly. They don't feel like we need to provide customer service to this individual. So part of my task really is just look, the registry of deed, the clerks, the register, we are very, very friendly people. We are eager to provide customer service. We want to contribute to the vibrancy of the real estate economy. That's what we do, because again, we record lands, we record community lands. It's everything that's affect our lives in the community. And as you know, the real estate economy is one of the most important part of the economy in our community and the economy in general. So we are being a part of it. Some other interesting things that we can talk about with some individuals who are more academic oriented or more professional in their work and so forth is, research history, right? And I learned this too. I always thought anything that we do, we think the registry is very technical, recording documents and have visual leadership, management, and so forth. But there's so many individuals in the towns that have personal interest. They want to do research on genealogy, on the history of the home, or maybe they want to know more about their ancestors, their grandparents, what properties that did they own, what was stated in the deeds back then, because the language and the legality change and how you, what you write, what the legal language that's written into the deeds in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, up to now, the language has changed. And there's a lot of interest to see how unique it was back then and how we do it now. We're much more politically correct, so to speak, in the sense that we want to be very, very inclusive, not exclusive. American history have changed a lot, obviously, from the 1600 to now, and the documentations that have been recorded at the registry, the language reflect those times as well. So there's a lot of personal interest from both the academician to the personal, just to see what the history is like that is captured in the registry of deeds.
All right, so you say that against advice of others, you're going to go out there and you're going to knock some doors.
Absolutely.
We see you on social media. How else can people find out more about your campaign, your candidacy, and the issues that you're going to be focusing on? Do you have your website and everything all set up already?
Absolutely. Everything's in the process. We sort of, our campaign is multi-pronged. We tried, I think first and foremost, I try to be out there, face-to-face interaction. That's my number one priority. I don't think that you can get people to feel comfortable or understand or know who the next register will be unless you're out there meeting them during the campaign phase. But I do have website set up. It's SokharyChau.com. It's my first name and last name, no dot, just SokharyChau.com. It's a work in progress. Some information's in there about me, some really cool photos as well. If you really need to reach out to me, talk to me, ask me questions that you cannot find on the website, you can call me directly. It's my cell phone, 978-375-9855. You can see some of the fun things. I call it fun because campaign is kind of fun because you're meeting people. You're talking to people. It's social media, so it should be social. Some of the serious conversation I have, I don't really put on the social media, of course, right? You simplify it, but you can find out some of the places I visit, some of the people I meet. On my Facebook, it's Sokhary Chau as well, and I do have a campaign page, Sokhary Chau for Register of Deeds. I am on Instagram. I am on X, on Twitter. As well. Many ways to meet me, many ways to learn about me. If you have an event that you would like to invite me to go to, I would be very, very honored. When I was mayor, I don't think I turned down too many invitations to any events. And every time I go to the events, I meet new people. I learn more about the organization. Organization that's been around for a long time. You think you know what they do, but once you go talk to the stakeholder, the leadership, there's a lot of things happening behind the scene. What they do to make sure that they serve the public. And I learned a lot about that. So please, if you have any events that you would like me to attend, give me a call, shoot me an email. My email is Sokhary. It has a dot in this case, sokhary.chau@gmail.com. Send me an email invitation, and I will do my best to fit into my schedule to go meet you to attend the events as many as I can.
All right, Lowell City Councilor and candidate for Register of Deeds, Sokhary Chau. Thanks for joining us here in the WellPoint Studios. Good luck out there on the campaign trail, and hopefully we'll get you and your opponents in here for a debate one day.
Thank you, Teddy. And I want to thank everyone for listening and watching as well. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you to City Councilor Sokhary Chau. And thank you for joining us here on this Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell, as we like to say, if Lowell is your home, this is your place. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.